Hi everyone, Advanced Playwright Techniques for Flawless Testing. My name is Debbie O'Brien. I am a Principal Technical PM at Microsoft. I just got promoted, woohoo. I'm also an international speaker, teacher, YouTuber, open source contributor, and I absolutely love sport. I just got the okay to go running again after having twins. So follow me if you want to see pictures of me running around the island. What do? I basically focus on Playwright and ensure that the community around Playwright is awesome and that we have all the content and things that you need to basically build and grow the community around Playwright. So what is Playwright? I think you all know what Playwright is. If not, oh my God, you should so totally check it out. Playwright is reliable end-to-end testing for modern web apps. It works on any browser, any platform with one API. All your tests run in full isolation. That means nothing jumps from one test to the other. Tests run really, really fast. And there's some very powerful tooling. And of course, it is multi-language, meaning you can test across things like C#, Java, Python, JavaScript, or TypeScript. So why should you use Playwright? Because I said so. No, because Playwright auto-weights for elements. Really, really important, auto-weighting. That makes it much less flaky. It also retries your assertions for you. Iframes and shadow DOM just work. Tests are isolated, as I already mentioned. Tests run in parallel. That makes it super fast. You can shard tests if you want to. Run it across different machines for scaling. And then, of course, we've got some great tooling like the VS Code extension. Totally recommend you check that out. CodeGen for generating your tests. Locator Picker for finding the right element on the page, so you don't have to use things like XPath or CSS or inspect the DOM to find that locator. UI mode just makes it really easy for when developing and writing those tests to kind of see what's happening. HTML reports to see a report of your tests, and the trace viewer, which also is available locally and on CI, and GitHub Actions just works out of the box in GitHub Actions, but also works across any CI provider. So let's quickly run into a couple of things here. Tips, API mocking. We're not going to cover date and time here, but you can test date and time as well. And then setup tests and CLI. So let's quickly jump in as fast as we can and let's get through these tips. Use locators. My first tip, auto-weighting and retriability out of the box, but you need to use locators. So make sure you're using locators to find the element on the page and prioritize user-facing attributes. So for example, page, get viral, button, name, submit. Prioritize that. Do not use XPath and CSS unless you specifically need to, but you probably really shouldn't. There should definitely be a better option out there. So use get by role as much as possible. If you need to use a test ID, it's totally fine. You can use it, but highly encourage you to use the user-facing attributes first. Use Playwright's assertions. So instead of to be, make sure you're using the Playwright assertions, which is to have text, to be visible. And they use an await before them, and that means they're auto retrying. So make sure you're using the right ones. Otherwise, it's not going to retry and you might have flaky tests. Use annotations. Annotations are really cool. You can add an annotation to your test and then it's visible in the HTML report. And you could do something like issues, related issues, or anything you want. And then these are clickable. And in the HTML report, you can just go straight to that issue. So to add an annotation, you basically just after the title, you open up your curly brackets there and you put in annotation. And then I have an array here because I've got more than one. You might only just have an object. And you type issues, description, and that link, or type could be whatever you want. So here's a quick example of something that I've already created. I'm going to run my tests here. And as I run my tests in UI mode, I can basically see the first test has got a little kind of circle there with a line through it. What's going on there? Let's have a look at the annotations. So if I click on annotations, I have a fix me in here. That's interesting. Well, that's because I put test.fixme and that's an annotation. So I can see that that test needs to be fixed. I'm waiting for something to happen first. Now look at the last test. It failed, right? But the annotation says fail. Okay, so this is meant to fail. And also I've got an issue there. So this test is going to fail until someone fixes this issue. And I've got the link in there. So it's easily, you can easily see it. And in the source code, I've got test.fail and my annotation there. So annotations, really, really cool. Highly encourage you to check those out. Test steps. Test steps are really cool. You can do await test.step and then put all your kind of things into one step. So this is great for us to do. Very simple example. Water the plants and then press enter. And the second step, I've got create the second to do. And those implementation details are kind of hidden. So when I go onto the report, for example, it's a much cleaner report because I don't really care about what's inside that crate for us to do. Or maybe it's just too long and I just want to make it sure it's easier to kind of manage. So test steps are really nice. And obviously you can expand it and see it in the HTML report. Same in UI mode or in trace viewer. So let's take a look at API mocking, because this is really cool. Now, why would you want to use API mocking? Well, first of all, let me show you a demo with UI mode. Remember, npx playwright test -- UI. So I've got my UI mode open here, and I'm going to run a test. Now, this test is a movie application, and I've got a movie, the Twisters movie, and this is a lot of very static content, right? My title of my movie is not going to change, the genre is not going to change, the description is not going to change, but the value of the stars is going to change, right? This is like, how cool is this movie? Do people like it? That's an ongoing thing. People vote for us on this website. So this is always going to change, and this is dynamic content. So how do we test something like that? So what we can do basically is we can mock the API, but only modify that one thing. So let's go back here to VS Code, and I'm just going to show you the test. Now here on line 8, take a look at this. I've got await page.root. So every time I go to the root with the movie ID, I want you to basically say, when you go to this root, go and fetch that JSON, right? Give me that JSON, give me what I need. But then I want you to turn around and say, the votes average, I want you to change it, and I want you to be 7.02, right? And then my test, expect page get by text 702 to be visible, okay? So this is clear, right? When I go and run my test, 702 is shown, and I can see in the network tab, my body is coming back and my vote average is 7.02. Now you might say, well, that's not really much different to the fulfilled one, to the, see the way it was fulfilled there on the root on the right, to the API. And you're correct, right? Because the API today is coming back at 7.02. Now, what happens if everybody goes and watches that movie tomorrow? I don't know, something is happening, and they all just vote and we get a 10. So 10 came back from the API, right? My test is going to fail because my test is expecting that static value of 7.02. And you can see here, this is taking a couple of seconds and it goes, right, failed. Now look at my DOM snapshot, it's showing the 10. So this is like what I was expecting. I'm expecting a 10, but my test is expecting a 7.02. And you can see then in my content type application JSON of my fulfilled here, I've got like, if I scroll down, I've got vote average 10, right? So this is what came back. This is what I fulfilled, and my API call was coming to that. So I need to change that, right? My test is expecting 7.02. Now I could just simply come in and change the test to 10, right? And that's going to work, right? And I have watch mode there activated, so the test ran automatically. Test passed. I'm happy. Do I care if it's 10 or 7.02? Doesn't really matter. All I matter is that the test is working and that I can kind of test that value is there, but that value is going to change. Now, another thing you can do is you can also, you can see like at the end of the website, it kind of can click on go to IMDb website, and I can click and go to the Twisters website. And I want to kind of, intercept that route and mock that, because I don't want to be constantly hitting, that, but I want to make sure that that button is clickable and that it goes to the correct website, right? Without actually hitting that website. Because I don't care, that website, I don't need to test that website. I just need to make sure that I can get there. So that's something that we can also do with mocking, and we can basically just scroll down this test. Have a look at this test. Look, I'm using test.steps here from movie details. Really, really nice. So again, scroll down here and we'll see my test. As you can see now on line 77, I'm doing a page.context.root. And the root is twistersmovie.com. And then I'm going to say fulfill it with this HTML, this mock HTML that I'm creating. So I want you to go to that root. Instead of hitting that root, I want you to just mock that in there. And then I can do my test and make sure the URL has the correct URL. I do the same for the IMDb website, and I fulfill that root and I just put in that dummy content. And then I make sure that when I click on that button, it's clickable and it goes to the URL, and I have my URL IMDb. But before I actually hit that URL, I kind of throw in my dummy site in there. So that's how you would mock roots as well. So yes, API mocking can be done. You could mock everything. You could just mock one little thing. You just mock the roots. Really, really cool. So check that out. So setup test. What happens when you want to have one test run before another test? This is really important, especially for things like logins. I've got a little demo here. Again, I'm going to open up UI mode, npx playwright test --UI. And this is going to give me my UI mode, which is kind of like a trace viewer view of all my tests. And basically, you could also use in VS Code extension, you could use the trace viewer option, right? But I'm using UI mode here. It's kind of a little bit different, a little bit the same. But what this is giving me over here, got my tests. And then up here, I can click on setup, right? I want to activate that setup. So I can see that. That's a project, right? So I now have visibility. I can see the login test. Now watch when I click the add and delete movies test. Look how it jumps and it logs in. It's running that login test, but I didn't click that. But it knew, it depended on it, so it went and ran that. Okay, so I'm running my test. It's a really long test, and it's going to, add all these movies and delete a movie from my movie list. I need to log in to do this. So really long test. Look how I can scroll along the timeline there. I really love this feature. The UI mode's cool. The trace viewer is cool. So yeah, and I can click here as well. Like, look at this, right? I can click on a specific item and, see it in the DOM snapshot, and I can just like double click it, and then it's going to give me that particular timeline. I can move and focus on a specific area if I needed to debug something, etc. But anyway, let's go back to what we're talking about, setup test. So over here in VS Code, let me quickly show you my test. I'm basically importing storage state, and I'm logging in, and then I'm, using page.context.storage state on line 18. And then in the Playwright config, I have that setup. My project is called setup, could be called login, could be called whatever you want. And then I just test match setup.ts and 48 dependencies. My logged in Chrome project uses dependencies of setup. And then I've got my storage state. I'm making sure that I have the storage state. So what is that storage state? Well, look, if I uncheck setup, I don't want to see that anymore, right? I've already logged in once. Now, every time I run my test, it's just going to run the test. It's already logged in. It's already got that storage state of login done. So I don't need to constantly re-log in all the time. And that makes it much, much faster. So that's kind of like a really cool feature that you have as well in the UI mode and also in the VS Code extension as well. So yeah, really, really cool. So make sure you're using project dependencies and check out the docs for more information on that. Last failed on the CLI. So if you are using the CLI instead of using a VS Code extension or UI mode, and you just want to quickly run some tests, you can do npx playwright test. We know that. Running 103 tests using 5 workers, 2 failed, 101 passed. I make a change and then I got to run that again. Well, you can do -- last failed, and that will basically just run 2 tests using 2 workers because they're the last 2 tests that failed. And then, obviously you fix those tests and then they passed. So that's a really kind of quick and easy way. And then you've got only changed again for the CLI. You've got watch mode and UI mode. So it's kind of like, is similar to a watch mode where you're saying only run the only change. So only run test files that have been changed since the last commit. So you've made a comment there, and then npx playwright test -- only change, and it's running 1 test using 1 worker. So again, much, much faster. I like the UI mode. You might prefer non-UI stuff. This is for you. Playwright is open source and free. So look at our star rating. It's very cool. We love stars. We want more stars. So star us on GitHub if you like what we do. And check out everything Playwright. Playwright is by Microsoft, but it is open source and it is free to use. So do use it. Check out our ambassadors. You can find all their details on the community tab of our website. I highly encourage you to follow them and check out the content that they're creating. Join us on Discord. We have a Playwright Discord, 14,000 members, insane. Constantly sharing articles and videos and so much help between each other. I love the community. I think you're all amazing. So thank you for being part of our community. And if you're not, jump into Discord and join our happy hour, jump on the stage with us and tell us about the cool things you're doing. Are you ready to playwright? I hope you are. I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you are reading our documentation. Really important to read the docs. Also, follow us on Twitter and check out our YouTube channel for our videos and latest release info. And of course, join that Discord server. Send me an email if you have anything you wanted to discuss with me, Debbie O'Brien at Microsoft.com or Debbie.codes if you just want to check out my website and see other stuff that I'm working on. Happy testing, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference and enjoy Playwright. Bye.